Right now, you know that you are aware. Therefore, open immediately and directly to being aware. Sometimes, of course, you may be aware of an objective experience, such as hearing right now. But in the opening of this meditation, simply open directly to simply being aware. If an objective experience, a thought, a feeling, a sensation, or a perception arises, just see that it points directly to you. That is that which is simply aware. Sacred names like consciousness or awareness likewise point directly to you, that is, to nameless being, to unutterable fullness. being, consciousness, open as though it were to the first dawn, to the first sunrise, to the raw, sweet experience of sensing. You are opening to silky, undulating, to rhythmical, pulsating. You do not find a thing, an entity called a body. You just find this spreading out, shapeless, sizeless, rippling. This fresh, innocent, unnameable flowing. However, because it can seem as if this flowing is localized and limited, the teaching tells us to investigate these assumptions. Start with the proposal that sensing is localized. Ask yourself the question, where is the center or presumptive center of my experience? And it may seem as if an invisible line is traveling backward toward the head or the chest. It may seem as if there is a point at which I am located. Acquaint yourself with this presumptive center of experience. Allow the superimposition for the moment. Oh, it's this experience, or the I that I am is inside the head. It's around the third eye, or it's somewhere in the chest, this specific point, etc. considering this localization, first ask yourself, what sort of direct experience is this? If you set aside concepts like point, circle, inside, and so on, notice that what you discover is a sensation. For now, set aside those concepts, center, point, inside, head, chest, etc., and stay with the sensation. Then ask a very seemingly naive question. Am I a sensation? Am I this sensation? No, it's obvious that whatever it is that I am undeniably aware of this sensation. Note this fact. The sensation undeniably is appearing to me, that which is aware of it. You might start to feel that you are, as it were, going backward, or that you are expanding. And ask yourself a very clear question. Is whatever it is that is aware of the sensation localized to this sensation? The question invites you to go to your experience of yourself. And it invites you to check to see whether yourself awareness is somehow different from the sensation as already established, and yet pinned to it. Is that what your direct experience of yourself reveals? No, clearly not. And then ask yourself the question, all right, well, how far and wide do I, aware presence, extend? If I'm not localized to this sensation, then perhaps there's still a frame in which I appear. Can you discover this frame? Perhaps you are localized to this frame, not to the prior sensation. If so, where is this frame? Keep looking in all directions to try to find your exact coordinates so that you can pin down the way that you are allegedly localized. There is no frame evident in direct experience. But is there a here set over and against a there? So long as you stay with your direct experience of being yourself or being aware, try to locate the there. How far do you need to travel through yourself in order to zero in on the there? And when you turn around from the there, how far do you need to go to arrive back at the here? Know that all these questions are deconstructive by design. We are probing a spatial superimposition from a number of angles. And you know immediately that you can't find a there in your direct experience. You can't travel through yourself either. You can't measure any distance within yourself. In fact, you can't even find any parts or divisions within yourself. How could you be localized when there is no space and your direct experience of your very being? How could localization or indeed non-localization make any sense at all? Space, the teaching beautifully says, appears within you, awareness. You do not appear within space. And yet, though you may experientially understand now that you are not localized, you might still feel somehow limited. You might have gleaned that you're not in space, but you might still be holding on to the idea that you have an edge, a border, beyond which something else exists. In which case, ask yourself the question, in my direct experience, do I find any edge, border, or boundary? You're invited to explore by looking everywhere you think of. You look forward, backward, upward, downward, diagonally. You fly, as it were, as far as possible in the hope of actually discovering this edge. Where is it? And How do you find it? You don't discover an edge, border, or boundary, not because your efforts have been unsatisfactory or lacking in completeness, but rather because the concept of a limit was a superimposition in the first place. You don't find limitation because, as the philosopher Gilbert Ryle would have put it, it's a category mistake. You're applying a concept to what is, in this case, concept free. You're presuming delimitation and delineation when that's just not the, as it were, sort of thing that you are. Your efforts are futile because the conception is mistaken from the first. You're just not like that. You are neither localized nor non-localized, neither limited. And therefore the invitation is to simply drop these ideas. And to be. You know, feel that being what you are motionless. How can being be other than being so as to become? And yet we can say there is the appearance of movement. With that apparent movement arising within being or awareness or myself. And so consider two brief experiments pertaining to sensing or movement. I'm going to offer more cues like head, arms, etc. But know that these are simply pointers to sensing. The first one will have to do with moving the head. Initially, it might feel as if my head is moving side to side. Allow this conception or superimposition to be relaxed. You slowly come to feel as if you are the aware background in which gentle sensing is rising and setting or coming and going. Second, we'll briefly raise the arms in a somewhat Taoist key. The point here is to feel that sensing is slowly effervescing within the aware presence that we are. Start with the first one, the asana pertaining to the head. You can keep your eyes closed. At your own pace, you'll gently and in no way swiftly move the head side to side. The movements don't tend to be very long. Initially, again, it may feel as if, oh, I am moving the head. I am the doer. The invitation is to drop that conception. Remember that you are vaster than vast, open, aware being, and slowly feel as if you, aware being, do not move, while provisionally speaking, you can say that moving or sensing is gently effervescing within awareness. Just allow the movement to unfold slowly, very slowly. Flowingly. If you need a koan, you can occasionally ask, am I moving? Or is sensing rising and setting within me? Am I moving, or is sensing gently flowing within being or presence? Without memory, without thought, how would I know that I am allegedly moving? Without concepts like head, neck, and so on. How would I possibly know, again, that I am moving? What if this were just sensing and folding on the single screen of reality? How would I know that there's even a so-called change in direction without memory, without thought? Do I really know the difference between moving and stopping? Between stopping and changing direction? When there's only effervescent arising, appearing naturally and effortlessly within the heart of the aware being that I am. And we can now stop the movement. And we'll turn to the arms at your leisure. Each arm will gently go up and gently fall. It doesn't matter how far up it goes, could be a little bit or more. This is not like a strenuous muscular exercise. It's a meditation whose point and purpose is to reveal effortless, non-doer, effervescing sensing that's buoyantly and naturally appearing within aware being. So you can lift one arm up and then let it go down. And then you can move the other arm up and down. So the movement will be successive. Go very slowly. Be interested, as Rupert Spira might say, in the quality, feeling evident in the movement. If you need a koan-like question, then it could be, is my arm moving? Or is there just a watery sensing that's appearing within the space-like quality of awareness? If you need a poetic cue, then you might simply feel beauty. Feel that this is beautiful. Feel that all tracings are, as it were, like calligraphy, like the darkest ink set forth on the whitest page. Without memory and without thought, how on earth would you possibly know that you are somehow initiating the movement of your arm? when there's only innocence, wouldn't there simply be sweet, soft, sensing, flowing? Wouldn't this all simply be grace? And now let all the movement stop and simply open to the total sensation. If any tension has built up over the course of these movements, then you can let all that tension fall like rainwater. We conclude now with a deep exploration of some scars or ego selves. That is, we're interested in looking very closely at this deeper layer of feeling that seems to be stored inside of the body. To begin the inquiry, ask yourself, what is something or someone that I deeply dislike? It might be something from earlier on today that you now call forth, or it may be something that you, for a very long time, quite strongly disliked. Just let any number of very strong dislikes appear one after the other. What is it that's almost unbearable? Or whom have you met who is almost insufferable? And now let one of those strong dislikes settle in and set aside the rest. The contemporary teacher of Advaita Vedanta, Francis Lucille, is reported to have said, meditation is a universal yes to the totality of one's experience. Concerning the present strong dislike, then ask yourself, can I indeed offer a universal yes to the totality of this dislike arising? This question is, I think, easily misunderstood. It is not asking you to like John or Jane, whom you have hitherto disliked. It is not even asking you to like something that you have for a long time disliked. Rather, it's asking whether you can wholeheartedly welcome the fact of the arising of this dislike. So let's ask that question again. Can you wholeheartedly welcome the fact of the arising of this dislike? Something may balk and say no, or a thought may arise and run at some angle or move in some orthogonal direction. If that's the case, simply note that that is resistance and ask yourself, can I now welcome this particular resistance, this tendency to escape? You may feel the whisper of a yes, in which case, return to the original strong dislike and ask once more, at this point, is it possible that I can offer a wholehearted or universal yes to the totality of this dislike arising? Can I welcome it completely? See it entirely? Notice that as this inquiry slowly unfolds, there's a softening, a relaxing, a lovingness that is felt. Now, visualize an imaginary thread that extends from this strong dislike to this fictional character on whose behalf the strong dislike is arising. So you visualize this thread moving backward. And as you move backward, you ask yourself the question, who in particular dislikes this so much, or dislikes this one so much? Who is it that really can't bear this or this one? What is the name for the essential character of this ego, the one that dislikes, that cannot bear it or brook it? Take some time. This is not an easy question. There may be some resistance even to undertaking the inquiry. If there is, welcome the resistance. Return to the question, who is this one that dislikes this so? And gently stay with the question until there is clarity, until there is an I am X formulation where the X is filled in. Examples might include, I am powerless. I am insignificant. I am worthless. I am weak, etc. Don't take those examples as if they're the ones that apply in your case. Just see the formula. Who is this one? Who is the one hurting so much? So much so that this dislike seems unbearable. There can be a clicking into clarity or a settling in. Suppose that you found someone that will do for now. Then ask yourself the question, can I welcome this samskara, this ego self, this fictional character, this I am X, wholeheartedly? Can I welcome all of it? And the answer may seem as if it is no. If the answer is or seems to be no, then see whether you can welcome this resistance arising. You're noticing the tendency to flee, to turn, to run and hide. You, witnessing awareness, are lovingly opening to these tendencies to turn aside. And naturally or courageously, you return to the initial ego self or samskara and ask once more, and out of freshness and innocence, can I welcome wholeheartedly, that is from the very depth of my heart, the presence, the fact of this samskara arising? Can I surrender to it? Or can it fall gently into me? And now we continue our inquiry, going one step further. We will move in two directions. In the first place, we'll take up self-inquiry. And in the second place, we'll give ourselves up to a Kashmiri merging meditation. Return to the samskara. Mentally sound it. I am X. Then set aside the X and hold on to I, or I am. And ask yourself, in my direct experience, can I find an ego I, a something within this thought arising? So I sound the thought mentally, I, or I am, and I look inside the thought for a something, an entity, an individuated me. Where is it? And what really is it? I don't find it. Consider the second case then. Ask yourself while sounding the thought, I or I am, can I find an ego I outside of this thought? An ego I that is referred to by this thought. What, what is it? Here too, I do not find an ego I. And so I relax and continue with self inquiry. This time, I allow I or I am to be sounded while asking the deepest possible question: who or what is this I ultimately? What is the essential nature of the I? And I don't look, I just open, fall, or surrender. Initially, it seemed as if I disliked such and such or so and so. Then it was revealed that, oh no, that's actually a character of a sort, what is here termed a samskara rather, or an ego tendency. It's I am so and so that doesn't like such and such. But then I undertake a deeper inquiry and realize that, oh no, that one doesn't actually exist. And indeed, never really has. And then I ask, oh, well then, who or what is this I in the final analysis? And I can't look for this I because I am it. So I don't look. I open, fall, or surrender. This line of inquiry directly reveals chit, or consciousness. Go back to the samskara, the I am X formulation. Set aside, in this case, I or I am, and hold on to the predicate, the quality, the attribute. Alone, worthless, unlovable, weak, etc. Let that predicate be sounded mentally. Then slowly watch as this quality melts away, merging into what? Into what does it merge? Into what? Or by what is it received? What is that which it becomes? If X were like a cube of salt that were tossed into a warm ocean consisting of salt water, what would happen to it? Where would it go? What would it become? Likewise, when you take this feeling and you lay it bare of all apparent limitations, what is the essence, the svarupa of this feeling? What is its home? Out of what is it truly made? The first line of inquiry reveals chit, or consciousness, while the second line of inquiry reveals ananda, which could be translated as abiding or unbroken peace, or as universal, all encompassing love. Just let the feeling tumble and fall and dissolve into love. But wait, two inquiries lead to two different conclusions, to consciousness on one side and to love on the other. Let's see. Go directly to the experience of consciousness. So if I ask you, who are you? Ultimately, and if you open and fall into this question, you discover that you are consciousness. Now, dip a hand, as it were, into consciousness and hold on to its substance and then set it off to the side. Now, if I ask you to take any feeling, whether it's loneliness or momentary gladness, but this time to take the feeling all the way to the end. If I ask you to take the feeling all the way to the point at which it loses all particularity and it falls into love, then ask yourself, what is this experience like? And you reach your other hand, as it were, into love. And you generously take its substance. You hold on to it. And now you come back to the substance in your other hand, substance called consciousness, and you bring it closer to the substance in your present hand, the one named love. What do you discover? How different are these two? Here is consciousness and direct experience, and here is love and direct experience. You move back and forth from one to the other, trying to find a difference. After all, the finite mind would say if one is called consciousness and the other is labeled love, then they must be different. However, when you stay with your direct experience and you gently move back and forth from one to the other, what do you actually find? What is actually the case? What is actually the case is that there are two names for one and the same substance. Two names for I, for my essential being. So I, consciousness, am love. This is the heart of the teaching. I am love, none other than love. Nothing in essence apart from love. Hence, love thy neighbor as thyself.